This workbook is 54 pages. I was like, when I wrote it, I said, just give them a basic sequence to get started. Prone, supine. That's what therapists are familiar with. You could easily adapt it to a table. I did this workbook, and then it was like, oh my God, like this is great, you know, because you had a printed workbook, right? It was like, wow.
It's in color.
Then it was like, this isn't, not to denigrate your class, but like this isn't anything. Like this is just to get started. This is just like, here are some center lines and here's how we use our legs and feet. And then the therapists were like, we want table tie. And I'm like, I don't, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna cover one time. And here's what I did. I wrote a workbook that was 3 times as long as this. And I covered table tie. And table tie is a weird Frankenstein because really what a table tie is it's the stuff you can do on a table, like stitched together. Then we made a DVD set for that. And then I went back to the mat, which is where I wanted, and I really found my voice in phase 1. No one reads these workbooks, by the way.
I read it.
This one's 54 pages.
Oh, it's good. It's very
Phase 1 is 220 pages. Phase 2, which is just sideline, where for 252 pages, I go start at the feet, work all the way to the top of the head for 252 pages, and then at the end, I go, now I flip them over and repeat it again.
Let's go.
The challenge was, it gave me more space to give like the foundational biomechanics of Thai massage and how to approach it in a Western market. It was very, very, I mean, in retrospect, kind of controversial because it was like this Western thing, like, is it okay to change it? And I go, I'm a white guy who grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, an hour upriver from New Orleans. Boudin, gumbo, jazz, funk, blues, the Mardi Gras Indians is part of my culture. And I burn in the sun real easy.
Me too.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it happens, man.
But it's like, how do you like give Thai massage to a Western audience?
Sure.
And I was like, okay, Robert, just do your thing. Just give them the foundational structure and just continue to adapt and change. Then it was like how students learn and how they process information. I needed supplement materials. I needed multiple vantage points on the same work. And then when we get to the conversation about business, I have tons of conversations to the point of making other people like, dude, would you stop? Like, would you just take a day off? And I'm like, I'm busy trying to change the goddamn world. What do you think's going on here? Like, I know you have a job. I have a spiritual mission. And it's like, it's not for everybody. There's nothing wrong with having a job. I'm just trying to put it in, contextually. The business problems that I have are different than what the therapists experience. And over time, as I continue to ascend, as like business grows, I have like brand problems. Beth is a wonderful student in our subscription service, and she started a group recently. Beth, if you see this, Beth Robinson, if you see this, you can tell people about your group. She wants to it sounds like coaching. She wants to do like business coaching for massage therapists. And she posted this thing about this company called Squeeze. And she was like, I don't like this. Are you a subscriber?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And she was like, I don't like this. And I'm like, why? I think Squeeze is a great brand name. And then I don't know anything about the company, but like other therapists were giving their opinion, and she's like, these therapists don't know what to call their businesses, and this and I'm like, Squeeze as a company isn't selling to massage therapists, it's selling to the public. A massage therapist might think Squeeze is somehow denigrating to their sacred tradition of doing massage and the sort of healing work they want to do. It's like Squeeze, but like, what does the public think? Because the public is the one that buys. I have a dual or multifaceted thing because I got to deal with clients, which increasingly I don't because I took my online scheduler down. If that tells you anything about my business? I just went, I didn't even put up a waiting list, which I want to do eventually, but I was like, I can't do this anymore. I got to back off. Like, I couldn't deal with the phone calls and the people scheduling. Like, I hate to say that I've gotten to this point where, like, when somebody books an appointment, I'm like, would you just leave me alone? But it's because I'm busy enough teaching and writing workbooks and DVDs and materials and things that, like, my business has changed. And I have to go back to the ground floor and, like, help you guys build businesses that support you and your healing process and what you guys are actually trying to create. I'm also not inordinately attached to you doing just what I do. I mean, I like that, but it's like Danielle and I were having a conversation because we had to come out last night to set up the cameras and kind of get stuff oriented. And people think, I think based on the conversation we were having, that I only want massage therapists to work just for themselves and be completely solo and entrepreneurial. And I go, no. Like, get a job at Massage Envy and see 2 private clients consistently. And then see 3 private clients and 4 private clients and 6 private clients. And eventually what you're going to do is come to me and go, I'm making so much more money. I'm like, you're doing half as much work, working on a mat, getting paid 3 times as much, and it don't look as good as it did before, does it?
And the other thing is too, by having Thai massage, right? You can have these longer sessions, 2, 3, 4 hours, depending on what you and your clients need. And so now it no longer becomes like how many people, how many clients do I have? It's how many hours am I working? How many hours do I have closed? So you're not in that mad dash to get people to come in. You're still doing your thing. You're still putting out great videos or just being awesome. And then they'll come and you need less because you're doing quality. We're starting to be more unique, artisanal, niche, showing clients that, hey, you can go to Massage Envy and get a nice rub down. They do great lotion, they have estheticians, awesome. You want real body work, you want to get fixed, you want to walk, come and see me. We'll give you that deep pressure, we'll work with you. And then when you start investing in your clients, they start investing in you. And that's how you get them to stay and then pay you more money. That's what we all want eventually.
I want you guys to do what you need. And the question I got from you that I wanted you to hold on to is
I wanted to really understand how I speak, how do I posture this with my clients, for them who have never seen it before. Like, is it wise to, because I mean, a lot of it you can explain, but like, is it wise to like just throw them into it and kind of coach during a session, perhaps make that session, since it's introductory, obviously like possibly longer or something like that where we're able to talk things through? Or, I mean, a lot of my clients, we do body work, right? It's really, we're doing the things. However, most of them are on the table. They have next to no clothes on. It's a different dynamic going on, but we got a lot of trust in what we're doing and the objectives that we want to meet, and the way through that has always been progressive and different, because I just, we're not doing the same moves every table time, But in something like this, where this is like an offshoot from that, the expectations for them are going to maybe a little bit different, because they're expecting, just because it has the M word at the end, that this is supposed to be and look like that, and it has that nuance, but it's not that exactly. So, I'm just looking into it. I'm gonna just tell them it's what I'm doing now. So
quick and easy. People's acumen for this is different.
Okay.
My experience was different than Danielle's.
Okay.
And then my experience was different than Kristen's. And then they would kind of ask me questions periodically, and we would kind of go back and forth. And sometimes my answer isn't her answer.
Right.
Because it's a lot of it is like, how did you do it, Danielle?
Oh, okay. So I worked at Massage Envy, right? It was awesome. They have a lot of rules. Can't get on the table. Weirdly, you can't put the client on the floor, so that's not a lot of room. If you do get up on the table, you have to have 1 foot on the floor. So it's very restrictive. A couple of ways I did it was, some clients I had trust, and I just like, hey, I learned this cool new thing, we're gonna try it. And they're like, okay. And I'd be like, keep your clothes on, and we're gonna move around. and it was great, and they loved it. And then eventually I needed to start doing mat work. So I started talking with people just out, I come to this gym, BJJ people, they roll around, they hurt themselves all the time. And I'm like, hey, I can help you. They're used to rolling around on a mat, so I just did that. But with my private clients that were table clients, I'd work on them, doing the deep tissue. And sometimes I would do table tie, and I'd be like, what, this feels really great, right? And they're like, yeah, and I'm like, I can do it even better on the mat. Like, if we just move you there, it's really awesome. And if you don't like it, we can just get back on the table. Yeah, it's that easy. It's meeting your client when they're at and saying, hey, I have this option. Another thing that I've done is I've taken video and pictures of myself doing Thai massage, doing mat work. So when they're like, well, what is that? And I'm like, oh, I just pull up a picture. I'm like, see right here, we can do something like that, And that gives them a little bit better of a visual. But then also the other really easy thing is when they come in, you're just like, hey, we're gonna do a massage, but I want you to keep your clothes on while I just feel you around, see how you're doing, move you around, and see where stuff is. And that's when you can start doing some of these moves. And after like 10 or 15 minutes, you're like, hey, do you want to keep doing this because it feels good, or do you want to do regular massage? Almost all the time they're like, yeah, let's keep doing this. Because who wants to get really covered in oil? They want work. I mean, people that want the nice Swedish, they love that. They love the oil. It feels great. That's not what we're doing right here. We're doing no oil. We're doing more focused work. You can make it gentle, which is great for the people that want to move around. But it's really just talking about it and being excited about it. That's what I found. I'm like, y'all, I tried something really cool. Like, just lay down. And they're like, what? I'm like, just lay down. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, and then I just do stuff. And they're like, this is amazing. I'm like, I know, right? And then but like, I am excited. They're excited. And that, for me, that's what's worked for me, is just like, this is super cool, let's do it. And they're down for it.
How did it work for you, Kristen?
Mine started with a lot of table tie. You just kind of, I didn't really make a deal about it. I would just do the new things. Like, what is this you're doing? I'm like, I do it on the mat a lot better, but this is the way I can incorporate it in the table session, just kind of give you a taste of what else there is. And they're like, oh man, this is good. And then it was, whenever I moved like a year ago, I just didn't move my table in. I left my hydraulic out in the garage, sold it. I was like, all right guys, well, this is all I do now.
She sold her table.
Yeah, sold
She's
it.
a massage therapist, and she sold her table. Go ahead.
Yeah. I said, if you want to go somewhere else, I can refer you to a therapist that does table work, but I'm just mat-based now, and I lost one client.
I get a lot of my referrals from other therapists because of the deeper work that I do with mat work. And then I also refer clients that don't really fit with my style. They don't want mat work. They don't want this deep work. I have great friends that I can refer them to. It's creating that network and that community.
If you gave your clients a choice, and this is me asking a very bare bones question. I know that this is an intro Thai class. A lot of you haven't had a huge amount of like mat-based experience. I think, was it you or Shiatsu? Okay, yeah, that was it.
And some Thai.
Yeah. So would your clients, when we're finished with this class, would your clients want this service?
Yeah,
I think so.
at least,
Yeah.
I mean, hard, probably like 85%. The 15 would.
So in my experience as an educator, and I'm totally biased, who doesn't want this service?
I have my own way of viewing it, and it's always like you just have to try it. Trust me, because I think that on the surface, a lot of people would be really apprehensive because they're used to
Yes.
a certain thing. But for me, when I have Thai done on my body,
Yeah.
I feel it for weeks afterwards.
Yep.
It's no joke. Like, I can get on the table and the next day I'm already feeling the adhesions again.
Yeah.
But with Thai, it's like it opens everything up and it stays that way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I know if a client tries it, they're done for.
Sure. Like, I would say the ones that would probably have an issue, just off the top of my head, would likely be those who have never like been in their body, right? That like massages, it can be kind of passive in a way, and this isn't passive. It is, but it's different. So it's a lot more coaching, but it's all in the way that it's delivered. So I don't think it would stay that way. But off top, like, oh, I don't do that. it would be those who have never really just been in their bodies and trusted what their body could do. Possibly long-standing injury or things like that, where they're just like, I don't know what this is. I'm barely okay with you touching me on the table. I don't know about this. So, but I don't think it would last. I think it just would be for a moment.
My issues are also biased based on like what I've experienced, and I'd relate to David more because we're guys. We got a beard, long hair, and I had to figure it out, like, because my original teacher was a woman, and I remember I got the body work, but I didn't understand the business side at that time. And I remember taking a really long car ride with her to like a class. And we talked for hours and hours. And it was like I could see how she did things, but I was like, something didn't click. And it was a mixture of her psychological and emotional set, her skill set at verbal communication. And then people just approached her in a different way because she was a woman. She'd be at a restaurant and just talk, oh, I love what I do. We go to sushi. I love what I do. I'm the best at Thai massage. I'm amazing. She was just a bad bitch. Lizzo, I'm a DNA test, turns out I'm one. She had that attitude. The wait staff would take business cards. The cooks in the kitchen would take business cards. Other people at other tables would hear her and take business cards. The last time I had a phone call conversation with her, she started asking me about YouTube. And she's like, do you make money off of that YouTube thing? Do you see the flip? Because she was a little bit older and also came of age a little bit more in a pre-internet culture. And I adapted to internet culture in a different way. What I found in Pflugerville, Texas, where I worked, I got a job at a chiropractor's office. And I tell you this to give you like another perspective off of like what they're saying. We all are in the Central Texas area. We're dealing with similar clients, similar background. So I go to the chiropractor's office. I had an amazing resume, by the way. Taught classes, like I knew all this stuff, like all this chronic pain management. Like I had a great resume as a guy. And I also just made sure my hair was slicked back and tied up in a bun and nice khakis and a nice white shirt. And, you know, at that time, yes. No Thai fisherman pants. So Dr. Hoster, who was my boss, I said, yeah, I do Thai massage. And she's like, oh, she was just all over the place. Oh, you do Thai, like, yeah, well, you do good work. We're going to get you working, get you going. And I'm like, no, I do Thai massage. And she's like, yeah, we're going to get you working, get you going. I'm like, I do Thai massage. And I realized she didn't know what it was. I'm like, Robert, just get the job, pay your bills, figure it out. And I already knew, I could feel it. I'm like, this was my last shot. I was literally going to leave the industry because I couldn't do what I wanted to do because there was no facility that would support me doing mat-based work. I got a job with a consistent enough hours to pay the bills, and all the rest of the time was mine. So I started working 80 hours a week. And when I say 80 hours, I don't mean on clients, like website development, blogs, video, like incrementally over time. Like the first time my ex-wife told me I needed to use Twitter, I about had a conniption. I was like, why would anybody tweet? I have Twitter, I don't understand, I don't know what it is, I don't get it. Now I do, but different context. What happened was I got into the job, got settled and comfortable, figured out what was going on energetically and dynamically with the staff, and said, I'm the fix-it guy. The client would come in, I go, cool, what's going on? What is your name again, by the way? Andrea. So Andrea, what's going on? Do you have any issues with your back or anything?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Upper back.
Upper back? Where does it hurt on your upper back?
Hurts right here.
Right up in there? Okay. And then what I would do is I would come up and go, can you show me where that is on your back?
It's like right in here.
Okay. Is it sharp or is it like broad?
It's broad.
Broad, okay. Is that bothering you all the time?
No.
Okay. When does it bother you?
When I'm not like moving around as much.
Okay.
I mean,
So when you sit still?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then like if 10 is the hospital and 0 is no pain, like how is it right now?
Probably like a 6.
A 6, okay. Does it ever get past a 6, like go above that?
It just depends on if I overuse my
Okay. Does it ever drop below the 6?
Yeah.
What does it drop to?
It'll drop to like 0.
Oh, okay.
Depending on.
Is that like after you get a massage or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So one of the things I did inadvertently, and I have to teach this to students, is I made eye contact with the client. How long did I spend looking at the feedback intake form?
Not very.
I would look at it, and she'd scribbled around that upper back and neck, and I knew where she was having a problem. She wrote it on the thing. I was like, I wanted to make a connection with Andrea. Sorry, did I say it right?
Yeah, you're.
Andrea or Andrea? No, like I said, my ex-wife's name was Andrea. What is
That's
it?
why he messes up every Andrea, 'cause he's always trying to
So
reach to
what is it?
Andrea.
It's Andrea.
Andrea, okay, got it.
I do it shorter too.
I'd say, listen, and here's the thing, David, I'm a guy, right? Contextually, I was like, man, if I try to tell them it's Thai massage, they don't want it. Like, they're not interested. They don't want to do something new. Look, hippie, I don't care what you, like, no, it's Thai massage. Like, it's from Thailand. It's got like a lineage and tradition and the Buddha and compassion and Bodhisattva and metta. And they're like, yo, bro, like, I just got a back thing.
Yep.
So it was like in Pflugerville, Texas, I would have that conversation and say, listen, lay down on the table just like you are. I want to move you around to see where we're going to work. They never fought me. They'd go, you mean you don't want me to take my clothes off? I'm like, not yet. I'd lay her down, start doing table tie, give her 15 minutes, maybe like 7 minutes per side because it was kind of on both sides. And then go, Andrea, do you want to keep doing what we're doing, or do you want to take off your top and bra, lay down first in the face rest with Swedish and deep tissue?
No, I want to keep what I'm doing. Don't.
And she'd go, no, this is really good.
Yeah.
See how it works?
And I did an entire session of table tie, never took her clothes off. I'm a guy, like, because we're dealing with gender and intimacy issues. Like, we talked about the trauma stuff. Like, I try not to be, in other words, as an educator, you try to be compassionate to people coming from different cultural and ethnic backgrounds. Like, people are all over the map as an educator. I get people in with all kinds of different perspectives that don't line up with my perspective because I grew up in Atlanta gumbo. I don't know, the way I talk pisses off a lot of white people, let's put it that way. There's a lot of Karens who don't like me because I grew up listening to Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor. Like, I'm very, The challenge was, once I gave you that, you'd go out to the front and be like, whoa, the dude, you wouldn't even remember my name. You'd be like, the dude, I need that stretching thing.
Yeah.
And here's what happened. 70% of my client base was coming in for table tie. They were completely blown away, raving about it to my boss. And then after like a year, I went into my boss's office and said, hey, I want to put down a mat. And she's like, whatever you want to do, the clients love it. And I'm like, oh, dude, you got to be fucking kidding me. Fuck. Like, I was, Then for the next like 3 years, because I was still building a teaching practice and my own practice, and I was trying to scale the business up, right? I continued seeing clients primarily 70% plus mat-based at a chiropractor's office for insurance billing. Here's how much time I have. 30 minutes or an hour. 30 minutes or an hour. 30 minutes or an hour.
So rough.
And I had to become a hitman. Where's the pain? Nah, I'm good. I learned a lot of my chops. I honed from practice. Not even like, I mean, I'm very thankful to my teacher. I mean, she gave me the foundation, but honing it in my own body,
Right.
the practice, I mean, I'm talking about, like, I talk about this in phase 1. Like, what do you do if you get tired? Dude, I worked until I was exhausted. I mean, I just worked till I just fell over because I had to heal people and help them and whatever. The more I stopped talking about Thai massage and shifted the conversation to what's your problem, I'm going to give you a solution, my business grew.
I love it.
Problem, solution. Problem, solution. I was very chronic pain management and like mobility oriented.
Right.
The difference was I'd have a guy come in at this point, and I was confident at the chiropractor's office. He'd be 300 pounds, 6'5", huge guy. And he'd say, I got this neck thing. and what I do culturally, the box, right? The cultural context of what we're doing. Do consumers have a box for mat-based whatever the hell it is we're doing?
They don't know it.
I would bring him into the table room because at this point on a certain day I'd have a table and a mat and I could like switch out to make it easy so I didn't have to break down the table, put down the mat, vice versa. And he'd come into the table room and then I'd try to get him to let me do the tie stuff and he's kind of like, I don't know about all this, hippie.
Right.
And I go, listen, I can work on you in that table and get nothing done, or we can go into this room with the mat and I'm gonna hook you up. And he's like, oh, well, okay. And I worked on his neck, basically between you and I, putting my knee in his neck. Is that safe?
It's, if you know what you're doing,
There you go.
anything, all the things.
You guys
It's
know where
easier on me.
Yeah.
You know, I used my elbow on steroids.
I know that's right. Ooh.
Give it to me.
I worked on him, and then you created fans. The problem was if I tried to say Thai massage up front, they didn't want it.
Right.
They're like, no, I want a massage. I don't know what this shit is. Right? Then I had to look at it, and I sat down at one point. Now, my teacher did not teach traditional Thai massage. We didn't have a lot of conversations about it. I just remember it coming up a few times. It was painfully obvious that she was a Westerner, and she was translating this tradition to me. And then how attached to that tradition am I, being a white guy from South Louisiana who's never been to Thailand?
Right.
Like, I teach yoga as well. Have I ever been to India? You see what I mean? Like, there's cultural context stuff to go along with it. I made a chart at one point and said, okay, don't worry about like whether it's massage or whether it's Thai massage or whatever. Like, I would look at it and go, the massage that most people are doing and what you're doing. And I made a list, and I was diametrically opposed to the foundations of like the mainstream massage industry. Table, mat. Nudity, clothed. Effleurage,
Rocking.
compression and mobility. And then I went, well, but people don't want it because it's not what they think of as massage. And then something clicked in my head, and I was like, okay, everybody's clothed. It's like, what happens when you turn on a camera and you show them everything?
We were on a table doing some of these moves and recording it. How much accidental exposure do you think we would probably get? Enough to be a problem. But with Thai massage, like we've talked about, when we're working those hips, those inner thighs, being clothed really creates that extra barrier of safety and respect and consent. And then when you have clients that come in who might be looking for more services, you know, we're clothed. We don't have to worry about draping because everything is closed. Nobody's going to touch anything because everything is closed. And for male therapists, having your receiver be closed gives you an extra layer of protection because you're working through clothes, you know exactly what you're doing, there's no exposure.